Today I present a study which I've done in a hospital in The Hague. And this building, this is a picture of the old situation of the building. In the basement there is a radiotherapy department. The people working in this department, they have very little access to daylight. Normally they work in windowless spaces, but in order to give them the opportunity to have some access to daylight during their breaks, when the building was built, there was made a small outside space which allows some daylight to enter the basement, which is marked in red here. And these are some pictures of how it originally looked like. It's a concrete wall, so not a very attractive view. As John stated, the view is important to people, but at least the employees were very happy to have some access to some daylight during their breaks. The coffee room was situated adjacent to this space and also a waiting area for the patients. But then in 2009 a renovation was planned and they were going to move the entrance of the building, and this entrance would be located just above this outside space. So a footbridge was going to be made over this outside space, and the employees of the radiotherapy department were really not liking that. And for this reason, the hospital has decided to make a vertical garden to compensate for the loss of daylight in this space. So in the first picture you can see the construction, the temporary construction of the footbridge, and at the second picture and the third picture there is a fixed footbridge and a vertical garden. And my research was about, well, we have seen, we know from scientific literature that, and literature about healing environments, that nature has a very positive effect on people. People like to see nature, but it also has a restorative influence. Can make people feel more, it has some stress-reducing effects. And I wanted to know how this renovation changed the appearance of these spaces and if it would have had an effect. And therefore I've done some questionnaire research and also measurements of light levels, and I've analyzed the view. At this picture you can see the floor plan of the coffee room, the waiting area. In the coffee room there were some big tables, and I've measured illuminance levels at these tables and also taken some luminance pictures. The footbridge was located at the left, so it was mainly the coffee room which would lose its daylight entrance. And here are some pictures of the waiting area, and I think before and after the renovation, and I think you can see now clearly how much difference it gave to the appearance of the spaces. We've developed two small questionnaires. Questionnaires which were distributed to both employees using the coffee room and patients using the waiting area. And this questionnaire contains some questions about the appearance of the spaces, but also about how people felt, if they felt well, and patients, for example, if they were nervous about their appointment, just to see if I could find a difference between the different periods of the research. There were four periods that I've done the research. The first one is before the renovation took place. The second one was when there was the temporary footbridge, which was on the first picture of one of the slides. And the third situation was when the renovation was done. The fourth one was actually the same circumstances, but it was after a bit longer after the vertical garden had been made, so people were probably more used to the new conditions. And these are the responses I obtained. Unfortunately, number of responses had dropped during the research, but still I think it's possible to compare the results. Measurements were done at 8 different times, two times before the renovation started and 6 times after the footbridge had been made. And Especially there, there's the red line, because between before and after the footbridge, there's the biggest difference in the results which I obtained. Of course, yeah, daylight is dynamic, as we all know, so I cannot just compare illuminance levels of the different dates I did the measurements. So what I've done in order to be able to compare the results, is that I've divided the illuminance levels that I measured on the tables in the coffee room by the illuminance levels that I measured outside. And so I've calculated the percentage of daylight coming in. And at this slide there are some results. The first graph shows the average daylight ratio at the tables which were near the window. And what you can see is that there was a significant drop. First, about 10% of the daylight outside was measured on the tables, and that dropped to less than 3% of the daylight which I measured outside. And at the rear of the room, the tables which were further away from the window, there wasn't even hardly any daylight. Before the research started, only 0.2%, and after that it dropped only to almost 0 lux. So it's still, although there is this space to have some daylight, or to have the opportunity to have some daylight access, still the levels are very low, and this is also something you can see on the pictures here, and the luminance pictures and also the other pictures show that in the outside space, luminance is so much brighter, higher than the luminance levels inside the coffee room itself. In contrary, the waiting area looked much brighter, and the effect of making the vertical garden was, as you can see, that the contrast between the luminances in the outside space were bigger. There was more variety in luminance levels. Those were quickly some results of the measurements of the lighting. I have also measured or analyzed the quality of the view, and I've done that by using a method which I have developed during my PhD research. The aim of my PhD research was to develop a method which combines the possibility to analyze the access of daylight through a window and the view to the outside. And the aim was to make it visible, so it is more easy to understand how different window designs, in a quick way, how different window designs will affect both access of daylight and the view outwards, because I think both are at least equal important qualities of a window, and they have some interaction as well. I won't go into much detail about it, but when I tested the method and compared results calculated with the method to user perception, people's assessment of different pictures, I found that a rating which was calculated with the method led to high view quality when the result was 8 or higher. The view quality was medium quality when it was 5 to 7 points, and it was 4 or less. When it was 4 or less, it was a low view quality. And the pictures show some examples of the pictures which have been rated. This is some of the topics which were included in the method, but if you like to know more about it, you can contact me after this presentation. When I applied the method to the views from the coffee room and the waiting area, you could see that actually the quality of the view from the coffee room hasn't that much increased. It is a low quality, and it still is a low quality. It was and it still is. The waiting area, there is a significant increase in the quality of the view. And I will now show you the results of the questionnaire and see if the same results are found as what I've measured. The Each topic shows 4 different bars. The first one are the original conditions. The second one is the temporary footbridge. And the third and the fourth, there were the final conditions with the footbridge and the vertical garden. What you can see for the coffee room, that this footbridge made the room look much darker, less pleasant, less beautiful. The vertical garden increased the appearance of the space, but it also seemed to look the room more brighter. Well, I didn't measure anything of that. The mean satisfaction level was dropped when there was just a footbridge, and it has become the same level as before, about the same level when the vertical garden was constructed. I didn't found any effects on well-being or feeling of well-being of the employees. There are too many other topics, I think, or too many other variables which influence this. And this is illustrated also by the picture of what they mean feeling was. The results can be summarized as followed. By the footbridge, the appearance of the coffee room is less pleasant. The vertical garden has positively affected the appearance of the coffee room, and employees on average are equally satisfied before as after the renovation, and that was actually the aim of adding this vertical garden. And also I found that the room seemed to look more brighter after this vertical garden was made. And I would like to add to that many of the employees of the radiotherapy department have made comments at the questionnaire that they really would like to have access to more daylight during their work, which, they prefer to work in daylit spaces, so it's really something they think about. And what I saw when I was there several times, that when the employees were entering the rooms, they always chose the seats which were near the window and never the seats which were far away from the window near the kitchen. The results of the waiting area are shown on this slide. The temporary, or the footbridge itself didn't have that much effect on how people assess this room, but you can see that it's found slightly less nice. It's especially the adding of this vertical garden which has much improved the appearance of this room. And I'm not sure why, after the in the third phase, when the garden was just there, ratings are even better than when the garden was there for, I think, 3 or 4 months. It's a different group of people, and can have to do with the circumstance. It's a different season, so maybe that has an effect on the results. Some more of the results showing here. It also, the third point shows that the vertical garden gives a distraction to the room. People think the room is much more distracting, which could be positive because they're waiting for having their appointment with the doctor, and well, there are often people who are not really nervous about the treatment they will get. And I also found that the people found the room, the appearance of the room more warmer. On average, patients were satisfied with the waiting area, but the satisfaction has increased when the vertical garden was implemented. And however, I also didn't feel any difference in how they felt at that time, or if they felt less nervous, for example. So I can summarize these results as followed. By the footbridge, the appearance of the waiting area has slightly decreased, very little. The appearance of the waiting area is much improved by the vertical garden. Patients made notes at the survey that they are very surprised. They enter this basement and suddenly they see this green wall and with daylight, and they make comments that they like it. it provides them with some distraction while they're waiting for their appointment. And in general, I can say that visually the vertical garden could compensate for the loss of daylight due to the footbridge. Visually, I don't know what the effects are, if there are any other effects. In general, yeah, as we all know, I think people like to have a visual access to the outside world. And in cases that there are indoor spaces, in some cases, there is just not an opportunity to have much daylight access. In that situations, I think that visual connection with green, daylit greenery can add a lot to the appearance of a room, and that is something I think for architects which they can take into their work. So thank you for your attention.